Super Rugby AU final regular season round sees the Force take on the Reds and the Waratahs take on the Rebels. There's nothing much to play for the Reds or the Tars. Tars a wee bit of pride in not trying to get whitewashed throughout the whole season. They don't want to go 0 from 8. And the Rebels, the Reds would rather maybe keep a perfect record, 8-0, but they are going to finish first. They are going to finish fifth. The only question is, Brumbies second. Who finishes in third? Is it going to be the Force or is it going to be the Rebels? Now, the Force have got the destiny in their own hands, but they face the undefeated Reds, albeit at home. The Rebels will have a chance if the Force lose, but then they still need to go and do a job over what will be a pretty desperate Waratahs side. We'll start with the first one. We'll go through some of the stats, the lineups, and how we think, or at least the predictions for how things might be going to go. For the Force, when they played the Reds previously, encouragingly, it was 26 points to 19 in Brisbane. So it wasn't a whitewash. It wasn't a hiding. And this time these guys are at home. But you'd have to say, it doesn't look like anybody's beating the Reds at the moment, but they've had a few close calls. So we'll see how things go. The Force, on the back of their kind of get-out-of-jail win last week, have made minimal changes to their side. Holmes is getting the start ahead of Medrano at tight head, and it's Kaitu'u and Robertson at hooker and loose head respectively, so pretty stable. Thrush and Timani is still 4-5. Anstee, Koteka and Stunder 6, 7 and 8. I was a little bit wary about Anstee at 6 ahead of Mr. Lee Warner, but he proved himself pretty bloody effective last week, so no problems there. Koteka's a tackling machine. Stunder loves a carry, so it's a pretty balanced lineup. Cubelli and Miotti, that 19 combo, Argentinian 19 combo, proved also very effective. Cubelli is a bit of a master at, a little chip through, a little sniping run here and there, although prior people say he kicks a wee bit too much, but it's part of the game plan. Adds some value when he comes off the bench as well. Miotti, I think, is the best 10 they've got, and it's been good to see them playing him in the last few weeks. I wish they'd played him from week 1, but anyway, it is what it is. Godwin's been good since he's come back as well. Defensively, a powerhouse in the first round. Second round, also very good, like in terms of his own rounds. Second week that he played, he was also defensively very good and added a bit more value ball in hand. Kuridrani had a pretty all-round good performance last week with some good runs, some good tackles, but not quite great. So I'm still waiting to see that from Big TK. Olowofela, Pulu, and Kearney's the back three. That's where you got your most changes. So Pulu is in, Kahui drops to the bench, and Kearney's in, so McGregor drops to the bench. Kearney's back from a groin injury. You want that experience, I guess, against the red-hot Reds. Olowofela also scored a try last week, so plenty to like about that. Lee Warner's on the bench, McCauley's on the bench, Wagner, Reedy, Pryor, and so on. For the Reds, they've kept things pretty stable. Liam Wright gets a start after his long comeback from injury. He's had time from the bench previously. He is captain, and he is at 6. So James O'Connor relieved of those captaining duties. Remember, Liam Wright is the Reds' captain. He's just been injured for the majority of the season. But the same front row, Fotuaika, Brendan Paenga-Amosa, and Tupou is the front row. Scott Young, interestingly, moves into lock to make way for Liam Wright, and Salakaia-Loto partners him. So McCrate, Wright, and Wilson, plus Scott Young, is going to be a heck of a threat at the breakdown. The Force will have to be very, very careful because Scott Young, McCrate, and Wright are all very useful guys to have, to get a wee pill for here and there. McDermott and Jock is 9-10. Stewart and Paisami make a really handy 12-13 combo, with Stewart doing the majority of the defending and Paisami doing the majority of the attacking. Dalgunu is in on the left wing. He's up from the bench. Petaya is in on the right wing, and Hegarty is still at fullback. So you've got Udu on the bench. You've got Ryan Smith. He drops to the bench. Fluke's there. So pretty useful Reds lineup, you'd have to say. Not huge changes, but yeah, these guys are coming off the bye, so there's a bit of potential that they'll be rusty, but more likely they'll be fresh and raring to go. If the Force get this win, they'll find themselves with a date with the Brumbies in Canberra, but they've got to go through a side which is 7-0. Like I said, head-to-head, 30 tries for the Reds, 11 for the Force. The Reds are dominant. 73 clean breaks to 36. The Reds are dominant, man. They're such a good attacking side. Interestingly, though, the defensive stats in terms of tackling percentage is actually higher for the Force, albeit pretty marginally, 85.9 to 85.3. But take what you can get. It's a bright side. The Red Scrum somehow, after 7 games, is still operating at 100%. It's the first, it's the best. Whereas the Forces one is at 78. It is the worst in Super Rugby AU. Maybe that's why they bring in Holmes to try and settle things down at scrum time. That could be a major area of concern. But again, encouragingly, the Forces line out is ever so slightly better. So maybe if the Force can at least win a wee bit of Reds line-out ball, maybe that's the area to target. Get them in the air instead of on the ground. I don't know. But yeah, key man, Dalgunu actually, back in the side. He's had 3 tries. He had the most clean breaks of any Reds player in the starting 15. The most run meters for the Reds. He is an attacking threat when he starts, and he hasn't been starting every week, man. It's been a bit of a rotation. Miotti for the Force. He'll need to be on form, man. He'll need to kick his goals. He will need to distribute well and hopefully get a wee balance of running it, kicking it, and passing it, which is, I mean, that sounds stupidly simple, but sometimes we see guys kind of get into a repetitive pattern and other sides just close them down. In terms of the predictions, the Reds are the favourites big time. 8 points by the bookies and 10 points by the Rugby forecast algorithm. So hopefully we get a good crowd up there. It's all to play for the Force. It's the Friday night game. We will see how that goes. If the Force can't get a win, then this game becomes really much more interesting. All Force fans will suddenly become the biggest Tars fans they've ever had. The Tars are winless, none from 7. The Rebels have had a pretty poor run with just the 2 wins. You look at that squad and you would say the Rebels should have had more, but they've had their own concerns, as is every squad. But I think overall, with Dave Vessels being in charge for as long as he has, 2 from 5 is pretty disappointing. But they've got one last chance, potentially, seeing how long this game goes. Well, they've got a chance to win a game anyway, but they've got a chance to maybe still make 3rd spot and have a date with the Brumbies themselves. The Waratahs lineup is very stable. Same front row, Bell, Pariki and Harry Johnson-Holmes. Same second row, Sinclair Douglas. Same back row, Swinton Tizana, Will Harris. Harris has been pretty effective, actually, number 8. Got a good offload, got a good running game. Tizano is just an absolute tackling machine. Not much of a running game about him, but he tackles more than anybody else by a mile in Super Rugby AU. Gordon and Donaldson. Man, Donaldson was a bit of a revelation last week. Some guy who they criticised for even calling up based on having virtually no experience, and he handled it like an absolute pro. So good to see more of him. Good reward for him for his good play last week. Foketi and Parise are the midfield. Parise was so good ball in hand last week, but pretty revolving door-like in terms of his defence. I think he missed like 7 tackles, which is way, way, way too many. Ram, Newsom, and Maddox is the back 3. Horton's injured, so Cotton comes in, and Caird's out, so Wood comes in. Otherwise, even the bench is the same. Very, very stable. For the Rebels, it's the opposite story. They've made about 10 changes to the starting lineup. Vessels is trying to get whatever he can out of this lot. Or Ugalese and Elof is a all-changed front row, so the whole bench swaps. It means Hansen, Gibbon, and Fa'amosili are on the bench. Leota and Ross Halapeti is your second row because your man Hosea is suspended after, I think he copped a yellow card last week, right? Or was it red? I even forget, I think it was yellow. But they reviewed it and he's suspended. Wells moves to 6, Wilkins in at 7, and Naisarani's in at 8. So I think Leota is the only guy with the same jersey number on his back in the forward pack from last week. Everybody else is shifted around. Hardwick's down to the bench. Cummings is in on the bench. Powell and Tamua is the same 9-10, so that's the same bit of stability there. And Tamua, I don't know, man, ever since he kicked the ball into Kearney's head last week, like he started off the season really well, I thought. Him and Jock were kind of neck and neck, but James O'Connor seems to have pulled away as the out-and-out Wallabies favourite for the 10 jersey. Magnay and Ely is the midfield. Magnay was solid last week. Good attacking play for a while. Made a big error which led to 1 try, but apart from that was pretty solid. Marika Korobidi has been just tearing it up without being able to score a try. Lamani is still there at right wing and Pinkus is still there at the 15. So yeah, it's a stable back line. Pretty much no changes. But the forward pack's all pretty much different. Like I mentioned, Kearney's on the bench. Hosea suspended. The Rebels need a win and they need the Force to lose. It's pretty much that simple. The head-to-head stuff, you look at the tries, it's 12 to the Waratahs, 10 to the Rebels. so neither makes relatively great reading. The tackling percentage, the Waratahs are the 4th team, so 2nd from bottom, and the Rebels, guess what? They are 5th. The scrum, the Waratahs have the 4th, the Rebels is 3rd, so maybe that's an area for the Rebels to get on top. I'm not sure. But overall, neither teams look that great. Do you want the Waratahs to get a face-saving win, or do you want the Rebels to maybe make a final if the Force can't get the job done? I don't know. It'll be a fascinating one to watch. When you look at the predictions, it's the Rebels by 7 according to the bookies, but flipped on its head a little bit with the Rugby Forecast algorithm saying the Waratahs, but only by 1. So not a real strong prediction. It was 33 points to 14 in round 5, so it was a comfortable win to the Rebels at that point, but things have changed a bit since then. Waratahs have sacked their coach, and whilst they haven't gotten a win, they have looked a bit better. So we'll see how it goes. Should be good games. As always, if you got this far in the video, please do drop a like on it. It helps me out immensely. YouTube's algorithm. Likes, engagements, comments, likes, subscriptions, all that stuff is very good. If you could help me out with that, be much appreciated. Otherwise, thanks for coming along, guys. It should be a good weekend of rugby. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.